All right, we're back again for another preview of Georgia's uh, March to Destiny. There's a cool, crisp fall feeling in the air in Georgia, especially in Athens right now. I'm sure it is in Alpharetta. But anyway, Georgia takes on Mississippi State. I think the point spread is last time I checked, it was 34 points. I'll go ahead and check it again real quick. It could definitely moved. Um, nope, it's still 34 points. So Georgia's a 34 point favorite. They play at 4:15 on the SEC network. Outside of that, I expect Georgia to win. But I guess the bigger news of the week that we should probably talk about is Colby Young getting arrested, and that whole saga that seems to be a trend for the past 2 years of players in and out of trouble with the law. This time, a little bit worse if you read the charges, just the headline and not read the actual police report. Sounds pretty bad. So, why don't you give us your thoughts, and I'll go ahead and give mine after you.
Um, my thoughts are when I read it, the headline, domestic violence against an unborn child, sounds absolutely like the worst thing. And it could be. I don't know all the details behind it, but obviously not a good look. The other thing that immediately from a practical standpoint, we've all been talking like, I even said on the last episode, I think it was the day before this happened, or maybe 2 days before. I said we got to get this guy the ball more often, yards after catch. He could be a weapon in this offense, and really nobody as a wide receiver. We haven't really seen anybody step up and be the impact or the go-to guy, certainly in the wide receiver room. And now we're down again. We had Rah. Now we've got a transfer, Colby, and that's the other thing I would just point out when you're bringing in transfers. Kirby's even talked about it. You do the best you can. You got a very restricted, if you will, sort of recruiting process. The good news is you got film to be watching of these guys because they played for other universities, but you don't get a chance to really know them, know their background. So it's a roll of the dice. But Kirby talked about it, him fitting in culture. But, that's what Kirby sees. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And the last and final piece that I would say to this, and I don't know what happened. Obviously, no one really knows except for Colby Young and the lady or the woman that was involved. But these kids that are, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, there needs to be, and I don't know, kids, it wasn't that long ago, longer for me than it was for you, but sometimes young people don't listen, but they have got to understand that relationships and how they live their lives off the field could impact their entire future forever. And, these kids come in, they're getting paid money. They probably, have multiple girlfriends, and I don't blame them, but jealousy and drama, if you live that way, it's gonna follow you. And the last and final piece, this all took place at 1:00 in the morning, and I think it was a weekday. If somebody starts knocking on my door at 1:00 in the morning, and I know there's going to be a problem, I would tell Kirby, maybe whenever you get all the players that are going to be on the team for the year, have them take out their phone and learn how to put 911 in and have that be a speed dial. Because you just pick up the phone and say, hey, there's a crazy lady outside my door and it's 1:00 in the morning. I need her removed. And they'll come and get her, and you're done with it. You're done with it. It's hard for me to understand this type of stuff. It really is. And then if she's pregnant and he's the father, I don't know. It just sounds absolutely awful. Now we've already got not acrimony, but tension in between Kirby and the fan base. The team has not played that well this year. There's high expectations that have been built over years of being the standard that we're not seeing. Now we have another distraction. It's just not, it's not good. And I don't know. I'm not blaming Kirby. I'm not blaming the university, but I just don't know what can be done in this situation. And it's just truly unfortunate all the way around. And I'm just glad, it sounds like the girl's not hurt and the unborn child is not hurt or haven't heard anything. I'm glad of that, but what a mess is what I would say through the whole thing.
Yeah, I think the whole thing has been a mess, and really it's just another cherry on top to this. Seems like endless Sunday of just really shitty situations that happened with Georgia the past 2 years off the field, and stuff that's like kind of like easily avoidable. Things that can just they should be easily avoidable. I don't understand. Obviously, I've never been in trouble like that before, so I don't understand it. But look, I think reading this is what I'll say. This a lot of people will start to make claims. Again, I know I've said this 1,000 times, so I'm going to say it for 1,001 time. They're going to make a lot of claims that Georgia's culture is just out of control and that Kirby has no handle of this program and it's just chaos. There's murder in the streets of Athens. That's not the case. It happens very few. Traffic violations is one thing. Beating on women is another. So, again, I said that with Ra Thomas. I'll say it again. You had two, if these charges are true, and if they are, then you got two bad apples out of 130 something kids. It happens. But if you read the police report and you're a logical human being, I think most of the time the headline makes it sound way worse than what actually transpired. So this will probably be cleared up soon. But when does Colby Young come back to the team? I don't know. What are you going to say?
Well, Kirby's going to be criticized anyway. Like if all this gets dropped and he's back playing by the time we play, Texas or Florida, and Kirby allows him to play, it's going to be he's allowing convicts to go back, and play, but. It obviously transferred to have a shot at his childhood dream. And if all this is just drama, that is because she's got her feelings hurt or something happened in their relationship. And again, I don't know. The kid's going to have his future completely washed away for that. What is Kirby supposed to do?
Yeah.
It's just and getting the charges dropped. He sat out for the whole game, right? Against Clemson.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that still wasn't enough. And the guy had no charge. I mean, it was dropped.
Charges were dropped. Yeah. So that's the thing. And honestly, who cares? As long as, it is dropped and he actually didn't, do the things that, the charges are alleging, then who cares? They can call you whatever.
He can't even be around the team if it is true.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's definitely. He's suspended indefinitely. Yeah. So until these charges get fixed, but who knows how long this is going to be? Like, is it tomorrow? Or is it next week? Is it a month from now? 2 months from now? What is it? I don't know.
The wheels of justice turn slowly, especially in a complicated case like this. So, unless the female in this case, I think, unless she can be persuaded to drop the charges. It's going to go on for a while, is what my guess is.
Right. So, again, who knows when he's going to come back. Georgia's not thin at wide receiver. They're getting thinner. So, if they get a couple more injuries, then it's a oh shit time. But, again, Colby Young was starting to make a difference in this offense. And now, once again, we're going to have to go back to the drawing board on the offense.
Yeah. So, take away my comment of yards after catch and being a dynamic player in the red zone and using them correctly. Scratch all that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's completely ruined. So hopefully that gets straightened out. I'm going to defend my boy Colby, free Colby. But
I'm not. If he's guilty, then the guy needs to be in jail. But if he's not guilty, there needs to be a learning lesson from this, man.
For sure.
911 is the same thing I told you and your sister and all young people. There's nothing good happens after midnight. So therefore, if somebody shows up at 12:10 to your door, banging on the door, call the popo. That's the bottom line, and don't engage.
Yeah. Well, speaking of not engaging, this is the 27th time Saturday that Georgia and Mississippi State. You like that transition, by the way? It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Georgia and Mississippi State are playing against each other. Mississippi State is one of the founding members of the SEC. It's very odd. I obviously I haven't looked at this much because it's just a team that we don't play often. I don't really think about. They've also always been in the basement, but of the SEC. But 27 times. The first time Georgia played Mississippi State was in 1914. It was in Athens. Georgia lost 9-0. And the next time,
an exciting game.
Yeah, and it was on Halloween in 1914. So just a really bad Halloween night. Then the next time Georgia and Mississippi State played was in October of 1950 in Athens. This time Georgia returned the favor, beating them 27-0. And then it's been a sporadic in between, like from Georgia played them 4 times in the 50s. Played them 4 times in the 60s. Played them 4 times in the 70s. Again, 4 times in the 80s. 3 times in the 90s. And then in the 2000s, 2 times, 2010, 2011, we played them. Dan Mullen beating Georgia and Mark Richt. I remember that game, 2010. Bad year. That was a really bad year. Then 2017, we all remember that game. Georgia, there was another Dan Mullen team coming in hot, beating LSU. Georgia,
they were ranked high at that time. I forgot.
I think they were in the top 10.
Yeah, they were. I'm pretty sure.
Probably the loudest pop I ever heard in Sanford Stadium was that flea flicker to Terry Godwin. And Georgia just kicked their ass. It's also whenever Roquan Smith kind of made himself really known on the national scene. And then 2020, the COVID year, that was JT Daniels. Coming out party.
Yeah.
George Pickens.
When he said, if you're not going to throw it to him, don't recruit him. That was a great line. Yeah.
Yep. And then there was also the blackout. Kirby, I know, not a big fan. I don't know if it was I don't think it was a pre-planned thing. I think it was just announced day of. Not a whole lot of hoopla for that, and people were excited about it. And then 2020, Georgia goes on to Starkville. One of Mike Leach's last games coaching. And Georgia wins that game. That was a slow start. It was a tight. Remember at halftime, that was a tight game.
Cold game too.
It was really cold. It was cold in Mississippi and it was cold in Georgia. And then Georgia just kind of boat raced them in the second half. So not a lot of history between Georgia and Mississippi State. Mississippi State right now is it's kind of a lost program. With Mike Leach's death, I don't know what they're going to try to do. It seems like they don't have a plan.
A year, right? The one they had last year, he only made it 1 year. Is that right?
Yeah, and they fired him. He was basically a stopgap because I don't think they knew what to do.
And he was defensive minded, and now this coach they got this year is evidently supposed to be offensive minded.
Yeah, Jeff Levy's from Texas Tech. He's
okay.
I think he's a pretty good football coach. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know how they're going to do it. So, I mean, we'll see. Who knows? I'm trying to find the rankings here for total offense here. So, Georgia's 54th in total offense. Did you know that?
Did not.
So, not that great. It's middle of the road. I'm still trying to look for Mississippi State here.
On page 2.
Well, we're not on page 2 anymore. Wait a minute. I definitely missed them somewhere.
Well, I know this. While you're looking at the offense, I watched a little of them when they played Texas, and their defensive backfield, unless they play completely different, they were given a ton of space and cushion to the Texas wide receivers. So to me, even though, you and I have talked about it, Georgia, I think, is more of a pass-oriented offense this year. I would anticipate we're going to see a lot more of that, even though I think Kirby wants to establish the run a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised. I think there's a lot of opportunity there for Carson Beck in the secondary.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think their defense is that good. Mississippi State's total offense is 79th in the country. They average about 5.5 yards a play. And then yards per game, they're at 380. So Georgia is now. This is kind of inflated because we play Texas or Tennessee Tech. So
right,
6.6 yards per play, and then 421 yards per game. And then defensively, I had it.
They're bad defensively. They're bad, man.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, they're 121st in defense. They've given up 6.2 yards per play, and they are giving up 438 yards per game.
Well, that's a good segue into it. Better we saw some improvement. It still wasn't great, my humble opinion, but saw some improvement on Georgia's offense against Auburn. This should be a game to where we should see some additional improvement. If we don't, I'm going to be very concerned. Georgia should have a big day offensively. Carson Beck needs a big game. He needs to find some receivers that he feels good with, and just want to see a higher level of execution on offense and the offensive line. Got to pass protect better, and consistently run block. So I'm expecting it. I would be disappointed if Georgia doesn't have 500 yards worth of offense this Saturday.
Georgia should have a decent day offensively. Now the injured players that Jordan Hall, right? Who else?
All right. Smile Mondon's not going to play.
Smile Mondon's done. He's not going to play. He was on crutches.
Obviously, Ratledge is still out. And then who else? There's somebody, Michael Williams. He's still questionable, but I think he's going to play, and it's just probably going to be limited snaps. But yeah.
Jared Wilson, I don't think he's going to be playing. I think you're going to see Drew Bobo. I think they're going to give him one more week of rest. Anybody who is kind of
Bobo has a bad game, which I don't anticipate. I mean, he played well against Auburn, but I think he's been practicing, just not taking the full workload of reps. Talking about Wilson,
right? Yeah, and I think that's probably good. I mean, we need the depth, and give Wilson more time to rest. So we'll see. I don't know. It's really up to what they want to do offensively, and then defensively. This is they're faster than Tennessee.
No,
getting off plays. So when they run that hurry up, they're faster than Tennessee. So, which I guess is a good thing in prep for Tennessee, weeks away, and I guess the hurry up. But I just want to see the defense tackle, just tackle, an individual tackle, not pursue and gain tackle. Georgia can do a really good job at that. But can we get individual guys to tackle and tackle well, wrap up, make them – I watched a play. It was the 2020 Mississippi State game, and Kamari Lassiter made a huge stop on third down. It was a tackle. In the past 2 seasons, this year and last year, you're not seeing that from Georgia. Those type of tackling out in the defensive backfield. Malachi Starks is having a real up and down year.
I agree.
Let's
He
see
had a
some
better game
consistency.
against Auburn, but the week before that, that was probably the worst I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, and Kirby said, they got to go cut it loose, and I think, and they asked him in his press conference, well, what does that mean? He goes, not having fear, just playing and trying to do your best and not worry about the outcome. That's what needs to happen, because I think a lot of this is them playing tight and not being too afraid and too hesitant to do things.
I don't know what the problem is. I think Carson Beck is, I go back to the offensive side because we talked about everybody going into this year. What was everybody saying? Oh, I think this could be, I certainly said it, could be the best offense Georgia's had in a long, long time. The potential is there. Obviously, compared to maybe those were unrealistic expectations. Clearly, to date, I would say they are. But we were all worried about the defense and the defensive line, specifically in the depth there. I say the bigger disappointment has been the offensive side of the ball thus far. Defense, I agree. I mean, individual tackling has been poor, probably the worst I've ever seen Georgia. But overall, defensively, outside of that half against Alabama where they looked like they were completely unprepared and outmatched, schematic. I don't know what it was, but outside of that, I think Georgia's defense has, performed fairly well, and I anticipate them having. Here's the other thing I would say about that: these go fast offenses. Kirby seems to have their number, like that doesn't seem to bother him, and I think the key to that is never letting them get in a rhythm and on the first and second down. You know what I mean?
A triple option.
Yeah. And that's the reason I think Kirby and Schumann up to this point has done well. So I anticipate even though Mississippi State's got a better offense clearly than they do defense, I expect Georgia's defense to perform well.
Yeah, I really want to just see an improvement. I know their quarterback is, you know what his name is, by the way?
I don't.
It's a president. Last name.
Biden?
No, well, I'd feel pretty good if that was the case. No, it's Van Buren, Michael Van Buren Jr. Martin Van Buren, yeah, the Van Buren gang. They're coming in. I just want to see Georgia's defense play well, and I don't know if I have too high of expectations for this defense, and maybe I need lower my expectations. I was going to use another word, but I can't think of the word.
Calibrate.
But yeah, thank you. Because I would like to see, when Georgia plays these type of opponents, to dominate the line of scrimmage defensively, to make tackles in space, to play with speed, get not sacks, but pressures. And that has not been the case. Tennessee Tech, not the case.
What is the turnover? What is the turnover differential for? I mean, I'm hitting you with this out of the blue, but doesn't seem to me. Let me tell you why I'm asking. It doesn't seem to me like this defense is getting a ton of turnovers or a ton of havoc plays, but an offense that can either hit explosive plays like Alabama did, or execute at a high level and sustain drives. Those teams that with a mobile quarterback, they're going to be trouble for Georgia. But other offenses, Georgia seems to do pretty well in. But they do not create a lot of turnovers. This defense hasn't today. Would you agree with that? I mean, we don't have to agree or disagree.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Okay, so Georgia's turnover margin, so that takes both offense and defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're number 67th in the country. Let's see. They have only taken the ball away twice. Well, there's opponent's interceptions. Never mind. Sorry. Turnover gain. Yeah, we're at our net margin is 0.
Yeah. So we've turned it over as much as we've taken it away.
Yeah.
And that could be, we turned it over a lot against Bama. So it could be a little bit of a misnomer, but this defense needs to, I would like to see them get some turnovers and create some havoc. And like you said, they don't have to sack the quarterback. I don't believe that's Georgia's game, but affect the quarterback. And let's get the ball this week. Let's play some complimentary football to Kirby's. Get the ball back on our side of the, on plus territory. Give the offense a short field. Have the offense execute and get 7 instead of kicking a damn field goal. Those would all be welcome signs this week. If we could scheme some guys open, Bobo, and have some plays be easy, that would be great. I'd love everything not to have to be like, I don't know. Everything seems difficult so far this year offensively.
And that's been the major problem. And here's the other thing I want to see. This offensive line, I think you talked about it a little bit briefly. This offensive line, I want to see have a decent game. This defensive line for Mississippi State's not that good. The game I watched them against Florida, I watched them against Texas. It's not a very physical defensive line. Not very good linebackers either. I don't know what it is. We try to diagnose it in the last video about recapping the Georgia-Auburn game. But there's no excuse for it. Georgia's got, to me, 4 or 5 stars on the offensive line, not to dominate, at least these type of teams.
Play with good technique, be consistent, play lower, right? Take the proper steps, communicate correctly along the offensive line. Yeah. Those are all basic stuff that I would anticipate and hope that we see a better job of this week by Georgia's O-line versus what we've seen thus far.
And then here's the other thing so they asked Kirby about Lawson Lucky because, he's kind of popping onto the scene right now. And then Kirby just says, oh, he's an alpha. He's got some nastiness to him. He doesn't pout when a coach gets on him. He just keeps going. Then why isn't he starting, Kirby? So
I paid Yersick a lot of money to come in from Stanford. That's the real answer. You want the real answer? That's why.
So again, let's try to get this guy. Let's get this kid more snaps and more touches. He's an athlete.
Yes.
I'm tired of asking for it. This is the game I want to see that happen. Oscar Delp, can you have a bounce back, please, baby?
Well,
we need you.
I'm gonna make a suggestion, and I'm gonna challenge somebody if they want to go back and watch the film just of Georgia's offense, and if Carson Beck could, and again, I think, and I'm not saying this unwarranted, but I think he's got a half a second more on a lot of these throws. If he waits half a second longer, Lawson Lucky specifically is open. I've seen just in 2 to 3 games, at least 4 or 5 touchdowns or extremely explosive plays coming wide ass open. So I'm banging on Bobo to make things a little bit easier, which I think I've got a valid point.
Yes.
But I would also say offensive line and Carson needs to take a breath and maybe hang on to the ball or step up in the pocket instead of getting flushed. And wait and see if some of these guys like Lawson Lucky can get open, because I think it's there. I do think it's there.
Well, yeah, and that's the offensive line's fault. Half a second is a long time in football.
Yes, it is.
And that's about, blocking and scheme. So we'll see. But again, Mississippi State doesn't give up explosive plays. They just get eaten up. They are a Swiss cheese defense. There's a lot of holes, and it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it seems like that's just the way Georgia's going to play, is a death by 1,000 paper cuts, ding dunk down the field. And, that works. That's a winning formula. We saw the Patriots do it for 20-something years with Tom Brady, and Joe Montana and the 49ers did it. It works, but you have to have Joe Montana and Tom Brady as the quarterback. I was about to say,
what do those two things have in common? Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and you have to have that, and you also have to have a good offensive line, and then you can start talking about championships. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't expect Georgia to just wake up Saturday and just be really explosive and just look really
I would
great.
like to see more of it, though. I know you would too, but I don't. Yeah, I don't. I think we've got enough of a sample size now to kind of know what it is that we got. And
yeah, no, we're not going to be explosive. We're going to be a dink and dunk offense, and we have to be perfect. And yeah, no, that's just not going to work. So it really comes down to the run game again, the offensive line, and the offensive line hasn't done a really good job. They're good in pass pro. They're
okay.
good. They're good for college football. They're good.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Run blocking, not good.
But when you're supposed to have one of the best offensive lines, coming into the season, or you think you're going to, and I say they're okay and are fine, and you say they're good. By the way, they're not even mentioned offensive line as Joe Mora, and they bitch and complain about that. They're not even in the conversation, nor should they
be. No, they don't deserve it right now. No. All right. Is there anything else that you want to talk about for this game before we get into predictions and preview our predictions, I guess?
No, I'm good. I think we covered it.
Yeah. Pretty good. If you're not going to the game, a great couch surfing week. There's a lot of big games. Tennessee, Florida, obviously. LSU, Ole Miss. That's a huge game. Oregon and Ohio State, another big game. South Carolina, Alabama. I would love for South Carolina to do it, but I don't think they can. But you never know. Crazier things have happened. And if we learned anything from Alabama, Georgia could, even as a 34-point favorite.
You mentioned Texas, Oklahoma. Was that the first one you mentioned?
Yeah, sorry. Texas and Oklahoma. That's right. Which, again, Texas is favored by, I think most of everyone picks them to win. But last year, that was the same thing, and Oklahoma kicked their ass.
Yes.
And Texas went to a playoff. So I just keep an eye out on those things. Personally, I would like Texas to win in a very dramatic fashion, maybe have some bumps and bruises before the big game next week. All right. Let's get into, I guess, picking the score. You can go first. Let me get set up here before you do it.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, I think there's going to be some opportunities for Georgia's offense. For that reason, I'm going to have a score over 40. I'm going to put us at 42. And I do think Mississippi State is probably going to be able to move the ball and score some, but I think we're going to hold it to 17 points. So I'm going 42-17 Georgia at home.
All right. Let me do that real quick. All right. I really don't know what to expect. Mississippi State played Texas pretty well at Texas. Now, I don't know if that was because Texas knew that they had a bye week coming up and it was just a sleepy, boring game. And, Mississippi State just got crushed by Toledo. Also, Mississippi State's coming off of a bye. So they've had a whole week to prepare for Georgia. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the first quarter, Mississippi State plays pretty well, like surprisingly well, and Georgia kind of looks like
Georgia.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like they're sleepwalking. So I think Georgia's going to go. I'll do Georgia 45. I'll do Mississippi State 10. I just don't think Mississippi State can score that many points against this quarterback. He's young, inexperienced. He's got what, 2 games under his belt, but again, he hasn't faced a defense like Georgia. So I'm gonna say he kind of pisses down his leg.
Hey, and by the way, if you are going to the game, can you be loud so we don't get chastised by Kirby this week? I don't want to go stand. I don't want to go stand in the corner on Sunday morning before I go to church. Please, I don't want to be yelled at by Kirby. So if you could be a little extra loud.
We'll see. He talked to Josh Brooks about it.
Oh, really?
So who knows what happens there? Maybe they'll have some new like get loud cam. That's the fucking band-aid over axe wound. We can't wear it. We can't wear the black jerseys. Heaven forbid. Hoopla. Yeah, fucking stupid. So right now, we're tied.
To what?
In our predictions.
You won last week. You had it exactly right?
Yeah, and then I picked Alabama, so I technically won. So by default, so we're tied now.
All right. Well,
so we'll see. But yeah, you have Georgia 42-17. I have Georgia 45-10. We'll see. You could either final word on this before we end it. You could have Georgia look really good, cruise to an easy victory, and we're off to Austin next week feeling good. Or you can have Georgia get a struggle win, and the sky's falling, and we go into Austin with extreme anxiety, which I think is going to happen.
I'm telling you right now, if we struggle against Mississippi State at home, the consternation and the tension between the fan base and Kirby Smart is going to be at an all-time high during his tenure.
I really don't want to laugh at this, but I was watching Kirby's press conference last night, kind of getting prepared for this and writing some on Dawgs Central. Give a shout out, subscribe. Anyway, and I was watching it and I was like, Kirby, like, why the hell is he doing all this?
Doing all what?
Like he has the Colby Young situation. He's got the culture issus. He's got the fans up his ass about how they're playing.
Oh, why does he do this job?
And then now he's at odds with the fan base after he's won 2 national championships.
I agree.
Starving fan base. And
we're a little spoiled and entitled, and there's no
spoiled. Look, I totally understand that. But also at the same time, I'm looking at it from Kirby's perspective. This season, we're only 5 games in, 6 games now. I'd be like, fuck, I'm ready for fucking January. Let's get this thing over with. This sucks.
Not only that, you right in the middle of when the playoffs, you got early signing day, right?
Yeah.
And you've probably got guys that are wanting to leave your roster because they didn't get the playing time they thought they had, and they're going into the playoffs. So you've got all that. I'm with you. I mean, you and I talked about it, and I hate to bring up somebody's salary, and I did it last time whenever we lost to Bama, but damn it, tired of losing to Alabama. It feels like I've lost to them my whole fucking life. So I'm tired of it. And excuse me for getting a little pissed and bringing up the fact that you're making $13 million a year and you looked in the first half unprepared. But if I'm looking at it from Kirby's perspective, our fan base is spoiled. Absolutely. We're entitled. Absolutely. And I have to work 24 hours a day and have people up my ass and nobody's ever satisfied. I'll either go watch Boog play baseball or I'll go to the NFL and tell y'all to suck my, ball sack. But I think he does it because he likes he loves the university, and I think he loves coaching college. But at some point, we do all have to worry about the burnout factor with Kirby, and I can't blame him a bit.
But again, though, he chose that battle. That's another thing where I was thinking about it. Like, he could just shut up and not say anything.
Do you think Kirby Smart's going to do anything different? No.
But I mean, it'd be a little more calculated. Damn, don't do it whenever the offense played like shit, and you're coming off an Alabama loss. Maybe this week would have been the week to do it.
Maybe.
Whenever you beat up on Mississippi State and go, this crowd hasn't been that good. And people would be like, yeah, all right. But he did it after Auburn. Not a good idea.
And after losing to Bama again.
And looking very pedestrian against Auburn. Not the smartest move. He should have calculated that one a little better. And then he's like, "Oh, Mark, you're trying to make it us versus them." It is. You kind of made it that way, Kirby.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's one of the first things you said in the press conference with DJ afterhand. So it was, you're the one that brought it up.
Yeah, and then in your opening statement at the press conference, you said something alluding to it. You kind of made it us versus them, and I get where he's coming from whenever he says, there's a standard of excellence. It's a nameless, faceless thing. But
by the way, I know we're running long, but did you notice it was a small comment by Kirby, and he talked about showing them he gave the hypothetical.
Netflix.
Yeah, and he said, and at the end of that, he said, you give these guys, and they practice great. Like Netflix was actually going to be a best practice we've had. If you give these guys a little bit of attention, they eat it up. So I think he's trying to tell to the fan bases, hey, these guys got the talent. We just gotta reinforce the belief in what it is that we're doing. Maybe that's what's going on. But that was to me, I interpret that of Kirby saying, hey, come on, we gotta pat them on the butt a little bit, pat them on the head. They're still young kids. We got to really get behind them. And these guys can perform for you. I don't know, but that could be another part of what Kirby's calculation is. He knows this team, and he knows they like to be bragged on a little bit and like the attention. So we'll see.
And I guess he knows Georgia fans like to be abused. We're masochists.
just go ahead and put a ball gag in her mouth, Kirby.
Yeah, that's a way to get noise. All right. So remember, ball gags and all, like and subscribe, comment, tell us, give us a score prediction. Also, remember to follow us on all social media platforms, Terminus Sports _ATL, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're big on TikTok. And then also our presenting sponsor, Unishippers Atlanta. Give us a pitch.
Work with small to medium-sized businesses, helping them reduce their shipping costs. Anything from letters all the way up to large pallets. If you feel like you're paying a little bit too much for shipping, give Pat Lampasi a call, and we'll give you a apples to apples cost analysis and tell you the best thing that we could possibly tell you.
All right. Shout out to Pat, Missouri guy. I know he's down bad, so give him a shout. All right. Well, we'll come back, I don't know, Sunday or Monday with a recap of the Mississippi State game. And then next week we'll look forward to the probably biggest game of the year.
Is it this way or this way?
It's just that, and then you go down against Texas. Let's all hope that we can keep something alive here. All right. See you on the other side.
See ya.